Hello, everyone watching and listening, and welcome to an exclusive Urban One production and conversation with the one and only, the new Chief of Police for the city of Columbus, Miss Elaine Bryant. How are you feeling today?
Good morning. I'm feeling well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm honored to be talking to you. You are officially making history as the first ever, not only outside candidate to get this position, but the first ever African-American woman to hold this position. So I think the first question everyone wants to know is, who is Elaine Bryant?
Well, Elaine Bryant, first and foremost, she's a mother. She has two sons, ages 19 and 21. I'm a daughter. I'm a Black female, obviously. So, I mean, there's so much to me. Law enforcement is what I am. I've been doing that for 21 years, and it's been very rewarding. But I would like to identify myself as a mother, a citizen, a community member, an aunt, a cousin, all those things. So,
right. So, the whole justice system and taking on that kind of work is a different kind of passion, especially with your longevity in it over 20 years. So what made you want to take on even becoming a police officer?
Well, that's a funny story, actually. So I was one of those kids, didn't really necessarily know what I wanted to do. So I actually came on this job as a vet. My ex-husband at the time was a law enforcement officer, and I was complaining about some of the things that I was doing, and he started talking about his job, and I was like, oh, I could do that. He was like, well, I bet you couldn't. So he jokingly said I couldn't do it. So I was like, well, I bet I can. So fast forward 6 months later, I was in the police academy, and it was it was absolutely the best decision I've ever made, because as soon as I got there, within a month of being there, I knew that I found my home away from home. It was my calling. I was meant to be there.
Wow. So like we said, you're making history as the first African-American who is holding the position of Chief of Police here in Columbus. But what is it like being not only a Black woman in this leadership position, but you're kind of going against who some in society would believe is the enemy as far as the police, like you're leading this division. So what is that weight you carry, or that responsibility you carry in being not only a Black woman, but just a Black leader in the police division?
So we know the glass ceiling, right? Yeah. We know this is a male-dominated field traditionally, but as a woman, and specifically as a Black woman, we bring so much to the table. Women traditionally are more empathetic. I'm just going to say that, a little more empathetic in regards to even policing and how we do things. I'll give you an example of an incident that happened when I was a police officer. I was driving with one of my partners, a male partner, and there was a gentleman. He blew a red light. I mean, he just went right through the red light. And so my partner turned around, my senior partner, I was the junior, and he starts following the guy. He motions for him to pull over. He tries to pull him over. The guy stops. He says something inaudible, and then he takes off. Now my partner's upset. He's feeling like he's being, disrespected. So he chases after him, and we follow him to this house, and there's an ambulance at the curb. So the guy jumps out, and he goes to run into the house. So we follow behind him, and my partner is like, you disrespected me. You didn't stop, and we're going to handcuff you. I said, hold on, wait a minute. Let's find out what's going on. Come to find out, this young man's mother was having a heart attack. So I said, hold on. We have to be sympathetic to what's going on. What if that was your mother? What if you were in a situation where no one was home and you were trying to get to her? Let's find out how his mother is. Let's make sure she's okay. Let's be that person. Let's be more understanding. So just little things like that make a huge difference in regards to policing, and understanding that every situation is unique and different. Yeah. And I know that you can't arrest your way out of crime. There has to be other things that you have to do. So I think it's women being in policing is a huge, you will see a huge difference in regards to how we police and how we think and how empathetic we are to situations.
Yeah. I think that's huge what you just said. You can't arrest your way out of crime. And I think that is a great mindset to, approach, just, what you do with, and especially now leading this division. And I just want to know with all that has been transpiring over, especially this last year, but just the history with the African American culture and the police, like how has your life changed as a mother of two and being a police officer? Like you have to, tell your boys like it's okay to, to trust police, but like how do you what are those conversations like?
So luckily for me, my children, their father is a law enforcement officer as well. So they grew up with two parents that were law enforcement. So they do trust the police for the most part. They've been around law enforcement, and let's be clear, there are a lot of phenomenal police officers.
Yes.
And not just in Columbus, not just in Detroit, but across the nation. But let's be clear, there's some officers that are not what they're supposed to be. There's some officers that are not in this profession for the right reason, and there are some officers that are absolutely profiling and they have some issues that we have to address. So for me as a mother, especially of two young men that happen to be huge, both of my sons are 6'6", they're some big boys. So I always explain to them, I've had to have that conversation. Listen, if you get pulled over or, if you have an encounter, I need you to, remain calm, be professional, do what they ask you to do. If there's an issue, we can address that later. But unfortunately, I need to make sure that my kids are going to be okay. So that's a reality. And as a Black mother in this society, that's a conversation that has to be had. And so for me, being a mother, being law enforcement, I when I'm out in the community, I look at these young men and sometimes they are stereotyped based on the way they dress, based on the way they look. My son had dreads, he dresses in the culture, but he's a college student, so you cannot stereotype. You cannot just make that assumption that these young men are bad or these young ladies are bad. You have to get to know your community. You have to spend time in it. You have to acclimate yourself to it. And that's why it's important for our police department to reflect the community in which it represents. That's why it's really important to be able to bring on some of these young men and women on the job so that they can have that voice and they can have that understanding. One of the programs that I think is important, even in the academy, is a program called Serve, Then Protect. You need to go out, you need to find out who your community members are. You need to go to the soup kitchens. You need to go to these different places, have those conversations, learn about who you are going to be policing, learn about who your people are. And then after you get an opportunity to do that, then you may have a better understanding. That conversation may be different that you have with this young man on the corner.
So you had mentioned about accepting the job police officers accepting the job for the right reasons. So what is, if someone is looking to, step up and make a change and become, a part of the law enforcement, what is one of the reasons or the biggest reasons why they should become a police officer?
Well, first and foremost, if you want to be a police officer, you have to have a heart of service. You are a public servant. That's first and foremost. So if that's not your intention, if you don't have that in your heart, then maybe you should think about another career. But if you do have that in your heart and you want to make a change and you want to make a difference, I encourage you to come on the job, because a lot of times, especially in minority communities or communities of color, police are looked at with distrust or disdain. And so it's our belief that we have to change that narrative. And one of the ways that you do that is to have more police that look like them, more police that can relate to them. And that's one of the biggest things, going and explaining to them, hey, I want you to be part of the change. I want you to come on. You don't like the way that police officers talk to you. You don't like the way that things are done. Come be part of that change. Come show us how you talk to people. Show us how you treat people. I want to bring them on board and give them an opportunity to be part of that change.
So we talked a little bit offline about this topic too, as far as stepping up and being that person to make change, and you didn't always think that you wanted to be the chief of police, but you saw it as a responsibility since you wanted a certain change to be made. So what made you not only apply, but accept this new position?
You're right. So between COVID and civil unrest, we are looking at completely different police departments across the nation. Things have changed. The way that people interact with the community, the way that the community interacts with the police, all these things have changed. And one of the things that I noticed being in that position, and I was actually our incident commander, boots to the ground for the majority of our protests, I heard the cries and I heard the frustration and I saw, some of the things that they were actually speaking of and some of the disparities. And I thought to myself, wow, you can sit here and you can watch it and you can shake your head and go, that's a shame. Or you could say, what can I do? What can I do as an individual? What can I do? What platform can I have to make that difference and to bridge that gap and to be able to bring police and the community together to show that actually we're not that different in regards to what we want, but those conversations need to be had. And it needs to take people that are willing to step up and have that leadership role and have those courageous conversations to be able to make that change. Because a lot of police officers, they want leadership. And unfortunately, sometimes leadership is lacking. That's a big part of it. If they don't have any direction, they don't have any leadership, and they're not being told where to go or how to go about doing the things that they need to do, you're going to see chaos. So I saw an opportunity. A lot of the things that are happening in Columbus are happening in the city of Detroit. And with my experience and, a lot of prodding from my boss that said, you're ready. You're ready to go out there and you're ready to be a change agent. And I felt it in my heart. I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to see if I can make a difference. And if they accept me, I'm going to boots to the ground. I promise you from day one, I'm going to be that person that never gives up.
Wow. So you shared the similarities between Columbus and Detroit, and right now, the Columbus Division of Police is facing a lot of challenges. We're seeing a lot of numbers in the wrong areas escalate. We're seeing, national news being made, and we're just seeing a lot of, like I said, a lot of challenges. So, what are some of your priorities once you finally get to call Columbus home?
Well, first and foremost, we absolutely have to address this increase in our crime, specifically our gun violence. It really tugs in my heart when I hear about young people, specifically young people, not only being involved, but also being victims. Whether they're the victim, the perpetrator, there has to be a story behind that. So we have to address this crime. We have to get into our communities and address crime, like I said, not from arresting our way out of it. That's not going to be the answer. It's going to take the community to come together. We'll have to address these socioeconomic issues. We have to create more youth programs that strive at getting at these youth before the streets get to them. Right? We have to make sure that we wrap our arms around them and provide them opportunities. And it's not just about going into schools for an hour and talking to them and then just going away. That's not it, because you have to address the holistic approach. You have a young man or a young child that you address in the school, but then what about their home life? Is their mother employed? Is there a substance abuse issue? What else is going on that would stop them or prevent them from being able to become, the young men and women that we know that they deserve to be? Or, that's one of my issues. So I know that we have to get into these youth programs and create more of a substantial change in regards to how we address their issues. We also, again, have to address the crime. We have to find out what's driving it, what's causing it, and what we can do to make sure that we drive that down. Another big issue for us is within the department. There have been allegations of discrimination. We know that there's a lack of diversity. So one of my biggest things is going to be to create diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's really important to make sure that we address that too. And last but certainly not least is bridging the gap between community and police. We have to make sure that we are having those conversations, that there is transparency, there is trust, not just in one community, but all communities of color, our young communities. We have to make sure that we're addressing all those issues, bring everybody to the table to make sure that we're on the same page and the biggest thing is humanizing that badge. Just like I said, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a cousin, I'm an aunt. So are many of our police officers. There are some good police officers. But we have to make sure that those conversations are being had so that the community can see them in that light as well.
And so for the last, over this last year and these challenging times, we've had, the virtual events about, having, the conversations that you're saying that need to be had. But what level of patience does the city of Columbus need to have to see the action behind these conversations?
I'm glad you used that word because that's what it is. Patience. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to change overnight. You just, I really, what I'm asking for from the community is to have some patience and to allow us an opportunity to get in there, identify and address the concerns. And again, it's not going to happen overnight, but through the entire process, what you will have is transparency and you will have communication. So there's nothing that's going to be hidden in regards to what we're doing, what we're attempting to do, and engagement. We want them to be involved in the process. So it's going to be levels to it, but they just be patient. Just give me an opportunity to get in there, identify, address, engage, bring them along in the process so that we can all say that we had a part in turning the page and getting in the right direction.
Yes. So as chief, you get to make some moves and make some big decisions, and you've already start building your team, and you have your new assistant. Can you let us know who that is and about them?
So Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts will be joining me. She is from the command staff in the city of Detroit. The one thing about Potts, that if I could tell you anything, is she is a phenomenal asset to the Detroit team. And they were actually quite mad at me when I stole her from them. They were like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm serious." They were actually in the process of elevating her here as well. Wow. So, but I convinced her to come with me on this journey because the one thing that she has is a vision. She is so engaged in the community, but not just community. She does a lot of different things. She created a community closet. So we no longer house prisoners. So we have cell blocks within our precincts. So she came up with the vision, like we have this space that we're not using, but we have all these needy families. So she got with different organizations and she actually created what we call a community closet, which they have food, they have clothing, they have school supplies, they have everything that you can imagine. And needy families are allowed to come in and they shop for free. Yeah. That was her vision she came up with, and it has been phenomenal. And now they're looking at replicating it across the city to be able to serve other parts of the city. Another thing that she did that's extremely important is they tasked her going to a precinct that was considered the most discriminatory, had the lowest morale, and had many, many issues. They tasked her with going there and changing the culture of that precinct. And she went in and she did just that. She not only addressed the low morale, she not only addressed the discrimination issues, but she addressed the crime, a decrease in crime, an increase in morale, the community projects. And she was so phenomenal at what she did. They actually sent her to the next precinct to replicate and do the exact same thing. So I'm bringing her with me because I know that she's going to be a huge factor in how we're able to turn this around.
Yeah, so we got, a powerhouse team leading this division, which the city of Columbus has a lot of hope for the Columbus Division of Police because of, I guess, really a lot of the destruction that has come here recently. And for me, I'm pretty optimistic. So like there's destruction, that's an opportunity to rebuild for better. So what do you want to say on behalf of the Division of Police when it comes to the future of the division and how the city can trust the progression moving forward?
So I would just say that the Division of Police, they have some phenomenal. I've had an opportunity to meet with many, many officers. They're excited. They're excited about change. They're excited about getting back to the business of policing and moving forward with repairing and rebridging those gaps. Yeah. So it's not just me. It's not just the elected officials, but it's also the law enforcement family as well. Obviously, we got some work to do. Obviously, we got some issues that we have to address that will be addressed. But I guarantee you that what you will see is a division that is ready to stand and do the things that need to be done to not only create a safer city, but be able to have that community engagement and that open dialogue that we all really want. So it's going to happen. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
So give us an opportunity to get in there, and the community is going to be key. We need everyone's help. This is not just a police issue, and this is not just a mayor issue. This is not just a city council issue, not a commissioner issue. This is going to be all of us coming together and making that change and standing together.
Yeah.
So when we talk about crime, when we talk about community engagement, when we talk about the changes that we make, I'm going to anticipate that I'm going to have some strong people from the community standing right behind me when we do this.
Yeah. So, because, and like you're saying, a lot of people believe that there are, strength in numbers, but to me, it's always strength in unity. And so we have the division of police, and then you have your division of community. And if we would come together as one unit, we would, see some of the success that both sides are hoping for. So when it comes to the community, what can we do to support you and the division of police?
Absolutely. So a big one is, like I said, being willing to stand behind us and have those conversations. I'm going to be very inclusive of the community in regards to some of the things that we want to do moving forward. So their input is going to be extremely important. Those community forums, coming to them, expressing their concerns, telling me what their expectations are of not only me, but of the division as a whole, it's going to be extremely important. And just having that patience. And when we get ready to do these community forums, it's not going to just be me talking. That's not what I want. I don't want that. That's a seminar. We're not having a seminar. We're having a discussion. So it's going to be very interactive, and I'm going to need their input, and I'm going to take what they say extremely serious, because I know that in order to get this done, it has to be a partnership. So I'm asking them to be our partners, the community, everyone in the community. We all have a part.
I think this has been, a great introduction for you to the city. We do have a question from the listening audience, I do believe, because Columbus is very active, very passionate. Today is a great day to even have this conversation, because today is actually 614 day. So we have a question here. As someone who wants to run for city council in 2023, what can I do to help you? It's from Dwayne Graves.
So again, Dwayne, I appreciate the question. You can be engaged with us. Reach out, have that conversation about what you expect from not only the division, but from me as the chief of police. I want to hear your concerns. I want to hear your ideas. So, reach out to me. We can have that conversation. But, I just coming in, I'm new. Obviously, those first couple of months are going to be extremely busy, and it's going to be a lot of conversations and a lot of assessments. So I'm gathering information. I'm willing to sit down and listen, because I think it's extremely important for me to know what the expectations are. It's not just me telling you what I want to do, but it's you telling me what you need from your department.
That's huge. That's huge. The new Chief of Police for the city of Columbus, Elaine Bryant. I appreciate you joining me today, sharing your vision, and just being open and transparent. And like you said, humanizing your position, humanizing, the department, because we certainly lose sight of that when we see, people in positions of authority or on a higher pedestal. So the fact that you are being transparent and already setting that precedent before you even touch down here officially, keep traveling back and forth. Great for you. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to get started. So I'm ready to officially call Columbus, Ohio, my home.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.